back, everyone, to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Provoznik, with, as always, Jim Culver. How you doing, Jim?
Excellent, sir. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Coming off a hard night, 2 hours and 45 minutes with The Cure last night here in Phoenix. So, yeah, good
Right
time.
on.
And also at that show, Christine joining us again today. Hello, Christine.
Hello.
And our very special guest today, we have a veteran of the bands The Replacements, Guns N' Roses, Perfect, Bash and Pop, the new project, the latest project, been kicking around for a few years now, Cowboys in the Campfire. This man has been described as the embodiment of rock and roll by none other than famed producer Jim Dickinson. Tommy Stinson, welcome to All Over the Place.
Thank you from all over the place.
Quite the resume there, but now we've got Cowboys in the Campfire, heard the new album, Wronger, and just very quickly, I was very excited that I thought it was good. Wronger was a made-up word. I'm a fan of made-up word.
We had to look it up.
And we looked it up just to be safe on that one and found out that Wronger is indeed someone who has done somebody dirty. So question
More
to you.
wrong than the other guy did, you know?
So are you the wronger, or are you the person who has been wrong as the inspiration for the album title?
Well, I guess a little.
Or a little bit of both.
A little bit of both, if you will. Yeah. It's it's like Susudio, you know, that's a made up word, right?
And as the great Pontiac Bandit said on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you got to listen to Susudio only on vinyl. You're doing yourself wrong if you're not listening to that on vinyl. But I digress.
Yeah, because that's a ripping sounding record, of course.
And Wronger is, I'm digging it. It's a 30-minute album, cuts very quickly. The chorus is bam, bam, bam. But it's a hell of an Americana album. What inspired the different sounds on this one? It's like putting the needle down. It's almost like you're getting a little bit of the North Mississippi All-Stars. You got a little bit of Marat, some Vandaliers in there. It's like kitchen sink, but very Americana. What inspired it?
You know, nothing particular. I mean, jeepers, Chip and I have been writing for like 14 years together now. And, you know, we've just been amassing these songs over the course of time. The first 5 of them we recorded down in Austin, Texas, I don't know, 6 years ago. And the first 5 songs on the record would be Karma's Bitch, Hey Man, Fall Apart Together, We Ain't, and Mr. Wrong. Those kind of made up the crux of the album then. And so from that point on, the stuff we kept writing seemed to fall into line with that. We weren't looking for any particular sound or nothing, but, you know, call it what you want. It's what it is.
Well, sir, you kick off with the ukulele on Here We Go Again. So, yeah, I'm liking the vibe on it. And so I'm thinking back to a show that I saw you, a solo show. And actually, if memory serves correctly, you had Dizzy Reed with you. I saw you at the Largo back in L.A. back in the early 2000s.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're playing the acoustic guitar, and you said, "Look, I'm a bass player, just playing guitar." So just very, you know, the 3 chords and the truth. And how much of an influence has Chip had on you as a songwriter to broaden that palette, perhaps?
You know, a good amount. I mean, he comes from a similar background as I do. You know, having played the club scene in the '80s and all that stuff. But he comes from more of a country. Rock and roll background, so you know there's a little bit of differentiation there, and so yeah, I guess our writing, you know, he helped me write stuff from, you know, the One Man Mutiny record. He wrote with me on the Bash and Pop record as well, that second one. So we're kind of all over the place together, and imagine that.
Love the call out.
Yeah, well, that'll come up a lot. You know, we have a lot of things in common and a lot of things different. So, you know, it just kind of worked out the mishmash of tunes as they are.
And on that note, I was looking at the liner notes on this little single that I got from Burger Records back in 2014, 2015. The 2 songs, Breathing Room and Not This Time, evolved onto the Bash and Pop record, the Anything Can Happen record. And you mentioned the 6 songs that you guys already had in the can now. So, and then the remaining 4, were they already road tested, or were they brought up with some of the in-studio spontaneity?
Most were road tested, actually. Most of them were. There's probably only two. Hey Man and Souls probably were the last two that we never did play out on the road as of yet. The rest of it, yeah, all road tested, mother approved or disapproved. And yeah. Did I answer the question?
Absolutely.
Sure you
Good.
did. If I could jump in,
Are we going to use the video as well as the audio with this?
At some
never
point,
know.
we're still figuring out the whole YouTube channel thing, to be honest. But
Got
so
you.
we've got it in the event that we ever decide to go that route. So
Got you. Cool.
Well, Tommy, you mentioned mothers in that one, and of course, I am one. And you started in the music industry. You were a kid. My youngest is 11. I couldn't imagine sending him out to play gigs at his age. Yeah, that would be impossible. But music has been such a huge, huge part of your life. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like what impact it's had on you?
Well, I did start off really young and playing clubs really young and hanging out with more adults really at a very young age. So I guess I kind of grew up quick. I wouldn't trade any of it in. I wouldn't go back and do it differently. Having a 15-year-old daughter myself right now that's, doing really great. It makes me look back and kind of go, wow, I'm so glad she's not doing the things I was doing at 15. As you can imagine. But, I have nothing to relate it to or to compare it to. It's the way I grew up. Yeah, it was weird. I know that from looking back on it and raising two kids myself. But without nothing to relate to, I don't know what life would be like any different had I not lived that way. Yeah.
And the looking back, just very briefly want to touch on Trouble Boys and the reminiscing through that, and and when that process with Bob Mayer going through that book, anything that from that past that as the book was being compiled that you look back on just fondly or maybe not so fondly.
I didn't read the book per se. I know it's in it because we all interviewed for it, my mom and sisters included. From what I gather, though, from what I've heard, and that is he did a thorough job, which is to his credit. I mean, Bob's a great writer. He obviously did a good job with that, and he's also done good with the liner notes for us and Wilco, as he's got his little Grammys for it. But nothing, I'm in a place in life where you really I can't afford to look back and wish this or think that or, any of that stuff. I'm working really diligently at living in the moment right now, and have been for a while. There's just too many things going on in the world and elsewhere and all that just can just suck you down. So I just try to stay right here with you guys, right here, slightly over there. Yeah.
And living in the now, I want to, with Cowboys and the Campfire, and I love the fan friendliness that you guys have. As you go on the road and you're doing backyard parties, you're playing. I saw you in the shadows of a boxing ring out in Goodyear, Arizona. And what is it about that closeness, the intimacy, like in the now, just getting the new songs out there, playing some of the solo stuff, things like that?
Repeat that question.
What is it? The fan friendliness and just being closer to the fans, and just you got. It's a very unique way of touring. And what's it like? Just doing these out of the way places and just getting closer with the fans.
Well, it's a product of my lack of wanting to plan ahead. I'm terrible at planning ahead. These days, when you put out a record, you got to think about a year. And if you want to do vinyl, you got to think about a year and a half ahead of time because there aren't that many places making vinyl anymore. So I can't really do that. I don't know what the hell I want to do a year from now any more than know what I want to do 6 weeks from now, let alone 6 months or anything like that. So what happens with me is when I decide I've got something to put out, I put it out and I go, hey, let's go play some shows and play some of these new songs in a couple months, and kind of throw that out there. And by the time I've done that, everything is booked up until the following year. So I have to make do with what I can and go out and play my tunes and have fun. And I play these intimate shows, which I've come to do over the last few years and find that they're a lot of fun. They're intimate. They're really low maintenance. I have a really good time. The people seem to really have a good time. And lucky me that I get to do this because it pays better than the clubs by about 2/3, to be honest with you. So yeah, and I don't know if that's a product of COVID or what exactly, but if I can go play a backyard, have a really good time and pay my bills and make twice, 3 times what I can make playing the nearest dump nightclub, I do in a heartbeat, because it's like I'm hanging out with the people, what I'd be doing anyway, because I'm a bit of a social butterfly like that. And it works for me. That's all I can tell you. Coming in.
And there's been some clamoring from my local Phoenicians, and we're wondering when we can get you back here. Of course, not.
Is that what you guys are called, Phoenicians?
I've learned that recently. We are Phoenicians, yes. I'm only a 6-year Phoenician with a Pennsylvania blood.
Whoa, boy, that's a hike.
And it's a distance, yeah.
That's a hike in a lot of ways. I'm going to leave the politic part out of it. But
thank God I was in Southern California for 21 years. It's a bit of a shorter jump to Phoenix. Yeah, but it's about to get really hot here now. But Christine has a possible location for you next time you're in our area. How's an airport hangar sound? And we promise not to make it too Spinal Tap for you.
Let's make it in the fall.
There you go.
Do it in the fall when it calms down a little bit.
Once it cools off, we'll touch base on that one later for sure. So
get a hold of Tina Dunn. She's my agent.
All right.
One of them. Her or Andrew Ellis, either one.
Airport hangar fall. Got it. Now, there we go. That's why I've got an awesome producer. So, and coming up though, in summertime, a little bit, you've got a San Jose show with Soul Asylum and Living Color.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that come about? Because that's just a 90s-licious bill, as far as I'm concerned.
Boy, I don't know who the hell booked that. I don't know who I got a hit for that one. Oh, no, I'm kidding totally. It just kind of came up out of the blue about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, maybe. And funny enough, I would have had a double think about that, except that I just saw Corey Glover play across the street from my apartment about a month or two ago. He was just coming up to play a show. My friend has a little theater vibe across the street called Park Theater. And he came up here and played a show, and I just kind of popped over to check it out. And man, dude can sing. He is great. And really a fun show. All of 50 people there. It's a small venue. It wasn't that, it was sold out at 50 people. It was really fun. And so I really thought about, like, I played with Dave and stuff. I've done the Soul Asylum thing and all that. But that part of it added a little extra oomph for me because I'd seen that show.
And I mentioned the fan friendliness, but the single I threw up earlier, the backyard parties, all the cool archive stuff that's on the replacements reissues. But I'm curious, what are you listening to? Who are you a fan of right now?
I'm in a kind of a middle ages thing here. I've between going back to Hounds of Love by Kate Bush and listening to, I've been listening to, the ladies that make up Boy Genius. I'm a fan of Lucy Dacus and met her at a songwriting convention in Florida a few years back, and just loved seeing her out there killing it right now. She's really great. Phoebe Bridgers and all that. And other than that, between focusing on my own stuff, I've been producing a bit. So I haven't really had my ears open to anything new and certainly the things I've heard as of late, I haven't really grabbed on to anything new in a bit that has grabbed my attention per se, other than those things that I told you about.
Speaking of production, I noticed that the executive producers of the new Cowboys and the Campfire, Wronger, and don't forget to check it out, folks, over at your pre-order, get your bundle over there over at thomas.com. And I noticed that Peter Jesperson and now Autry Jesperson is getting into the production thing. What's it like? Well, first off, the guidance and influence, and then the eventual friendship with Peter. And what's it like now involving Autry, who's all grown up and he's all grown up?
It's a beautiful story, actually. Peter's been my musical mentor since I was fucking knee high to a grapevine, and it's a really beautiful story. Peter's the one I play my stuff for Peter before I play it for anyone, pretty much my entire life here. He's the one he's the one person I trust in the world that's gonna tell me the truth about every aspect of it, which is always as an artist, I appreciate, because he'll also call bullshit when bullshit is bullshit, which is great. But Autry, growing up in that family, has become quite the musical entrepreneur himself, and really following in Dad's footsteps. And the two of them together, I put them. When we were making this record, I was like, well, Autry's going to school for this. Let's see what Autry has to say. And so the two of them put their heads together, and they did it together and helped me basically put this record together. I mean, everything from just giving me, insight into, this song could use this, or that song's a bit too much that, or this. All the input I got from those two guys helped me to, make this record, down to sequencing and all that, and it's just great. I mean, there are very few people out there like Peter Jesperson. I know probably the ones that are there that are worth a shit, and Peter's the big one. I know a couple other people. Laurel Stearns is another good friend of mine who is another total muso. Used to work for Capitol Records. She's a really good friend of mine. And a girlfriend of mine, Kelly Spencer. Just people that just music is in their brain 24/7 kind of thing. If they would have played, they would have been they'd still be in bands playing right now. But it's great to see that with Autry. There are very, very few people like Peter and those kind of folks around. And I'm glad that Autry's taken the reins and moving that forward, because we're going to need that. We're going to need that in the future. I think that's an old school mindset. The music fan of that nature, just the total diehard, total music aficionado, lives, breathes, eats music. These days, I think it's going to be harder to come by that kind of person. And I'm glad he's going to college for it. Everything, it's a cool thing.
Melomaniacs do not come much more knowledgeable than
I was trying to point to Eric, because that's how he is.
Okay.
Yes.
Other way.
Here, there, and everywhere. Well,
pardon me for jumping in also with this one, Tommy, but I gotta thank you, like I do. I have to thank you, because it's actually because of you that Eric and I are together, because we got together at a Tears for Fears concert last year over our mutual love of the Replacements. So,
oh my! Well, very cool. Very cool.
Little light bulb went off. Yeah.
Yeah, he went.
I can talk to this person.
And that was that.
Nice. Well, that's a cute story.
Well, like I said, Melomaniacs don't come much more knowledgeable or personable than Peter. And I'm telling you, when I saw a local news station back in LA, they did a story on the Beatles when the Beatles reissues were coming out, and they were in. Do you remember? Did you see the one Autry was in? They went to his elementary school, and that kid he probably was no more than 11 or 12 years old, just not knowing more about than John, Paul, Ringo, and George than anybody. But
than they even know about themselves, right?
Well, when you've got a mom who has a bumper sticker, still has still pissed at Yoko.
Yeah.
Audrey's growing up, and to be surrounded by you and just all the people that in Peter's life. I mean, it was so cool to see that Audrey is working on, has helped you on the album, and
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's I think he's follow the calling. He's got it in his blood and his gene pool. I hope him all the best and the most success that he'd have out there. Like I said, we need those people. We need those people that have that kind of ear and that kind of love of music. Where it's important.
All right, Jim, I'm gonna throw your direction real quickly here.
Yeah, so I got to tell you, man, I'm really struck by the versatility in your career. I mean, you've worked with so many different bands and so many different genres, and it's wondering is it relatively easy to keep that creative spark as you make those kind of changes, or do you feel like you get some creative whiplash as you kind of bounce from genre to genre, from band to band?
The funny thing is, I don't look at it that way. I look at it all as kind of the same bit of the same puzzle. It's I mean, all the diversity. I mean, it's all kind of rock and roll to me. But the different things I've done, yeah. I mean, like the Guns N' Roses thing. There was a collaborative effort that happened on that was new to me. That was my favorite takeaway of that gig. Just how we made that record and how Axl was able to get all of us guys from completely different backgrounds to make that record. I thought it was a really cool thing. But I think from an early age, this is all I've done and all I've known. So I still like doing it. I still love performing and writing and recording and all that stuff. So I think as long as I still like it, I'll probably just continue on doing it. I mean, I look at Willie Nelson. I think there's a funny story about him talking with his wife. He's 90 years old. She's like, do you think we should maybe think about retirement someday? And he's just like, and do what? Just sit around and watch the days go by. It's like, I've been traveling my whole life. This is, it's relaxing to him. I mean, whatever. I kind of look at it the same way. I mean, I got no retirement plan. I wouldn't do it anyway. So
you don't slow down, you never grow old. I think I heard that somewhere sometime.
Yeah, well, at least inside.
And Catch and Release. I know you did some score work on that. Is there anything that you'll be dabbling with down the line? Anyone coming to you with score projects or film projects?
There are a couple funny things going on that I may be involved in coming up that I can't talk about yet, and because I don't want to jinx them. But there's a couple different things that would be really funny if they happened, basically.
We'll keep it a secret for now. We'll have you come back on down the line when once those projects are
yes, once they come.
Baseball guy, I understand
there you go.
This, and I won't be a part of a jinx. So
there you go.
And to what Jim was saying, and I brought up earlier with the LMAO single, and those two songs that eventually became Bash and Pop songs. When you sit down to write, are you in a headspace like this is going to be a Cowboys and the Campfire song, or this is solo, or this is Bash and Pop, and friends have also asked, is there going to be a perfect reunion anytime soon? So you just write and the chips fall where they may.
Pretty much. I mean, there are some things that I designate for each in a particular way. Like I know if I'm going to make a Bash and Pop record, it's going to be more of a full band record, whatever it is. And I know that with Chip and I, we're more of a stripped down kind of vibe. And that's what that'll be, even though there are drums and bass and other things on the record. I think overall, it's very loose the way I delegate my songs and my thoughts about that. I'll try things out with both and see what seems to work with whatever before I, plug it in per se.
And did I notice correctly that joining you on the tour with Cowboys and the Campfire is stand-up bass Mike Chops LeConte? Is he going to be joining you guys?
Yes, he is.
Or just here and there?
He's going to join us. We added him to the mix to try and up our game a little bit and add some low end now that we have a record out.
By the end of the tour, you'll have someone playing just a stand-up snare.
There you go.
Percussion into it,
or a flute and a bagpipe.
There we go. Well, I've got
Give me an accordion.
I have an accordion, so when you play
There you
that show later this year, I'll make sure I'm up to snuff on that one for you.
Almost had accordion on the record. Almost.
Well, Tommy Stinson, again, thanks for joining us here on All Over the Place. Everyone, make sure you check out TommyStinson.com. Get your pre-order in on Wronger, coming out June 2nd. And when you're at the site, look for the dates where Tommy's going to be popping up spontaneously or a little bit planned out. And make sure you go see him. It's he and Chip, and I'm looking forward to seeing the stand-up bass in the mix as well. So, Tommy, thanks again for joining us here on All Over the Place.
Thanks for having me, y'all. Have a lovely weekend. We'll see you next time.
Deal. And thanks, everyone, as always, for checking out All Over the Place. And we'll be back real soon.
All right. Hola.
All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.